This conversation with Lisa Tejera and Sofia Jean Gomez, actresses in Argonautika, written and directed by Mary Zimmerman, is sponsored by Mediterra Restaurant and Bar, one of Princeton's premier dining destinations, offering upscale casual cuisine of the 21 countries surrounding the Mediterranean Sea.
Hi, I'm Todd Regler with the Princeton News Network, and I'm here in the Matthews Theater of the McCarter Theater Center with two goddesses from the current production Argonautika, The Voyage of Jason and the Argonauts, written and directed by Mary Zimmerman. Lisa Tejera and Sofia Jean Gomez, thank you for joining me. So you play Hera.
Yes.
And that's Zeus's wife.
/ sister, but yes. Yeah.
And
The gods were very, very close.
I see. And you're Athena, and that's Zeus's daughter.
And we're also half-sisters?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're,
And
and you're
stepmother.
not
And stepmother.
stepmother, okay.
Yeah, she's my
But
stepmother
good friends,
and my
we-
half-sister.
And so,
But we go clubbing all the time.
Yeah, we go clubbing. It's awesome.
And so what role does Hera play in the story?
She's sort of the initial instigator of the journey. She goes down to Earth just to sort of play around, and she sees this guy, Jason, and she takes a shining to him and decides to embrace him and be his patron. And he's sent off on this journey, and she and Athena decide to sort of guide him along the way to make sure that he achieves his goal. And to do whatever they can to help him achieve that goal.
Yeah. Conquer this kingdom, basically, that they just loathe. It's King Hades. They don't like the guy. And so the goddesses are like, what do we do? How do we get this guy out of power?
So the goddesses don't like this
King
guy.
Hades. No,
No,
they have
no.
some old political
Yeah.
beefs with him.
I see, I see.
He's a tyrant, basically. And so they have to find ways to overthrow him, but they can't technically do it with goddess-like powers. There has to be another
Right. Yeah,
functional way to
somehow
go through.
mankind.
Yeah,
the-
mankind
the-
has to do it on its own.
With a little bit of guidance.
With a little bit of guidance.
So it's a boatload of guys
Yeah.
that are given a little bit of guidance by some
A couple goddesses.
by a couple goddesses. So I was reading the Oxford Companion to Classical Literature about both of the goddesses. I read your bios, and this writer described both of you as having severe beauty. I thought that was a fun connection. That so do you find so that word severe?
I know, yeah.
What do you think that's? I mean, do you find some of that in this production? Or rather, do you find some of this severity in what it means to be a goddess, perhaps?
I think so. I mean, it's not always lofty and it's not always benevolent, and there's often choices made and outcomes, and Medea's sort of a casualty of that severity of beauty and love.
Definitely. I mean, we're not like little wallflowers, definitely. We make some choices. We're demanding. We're strong. We're,
Pouty.
yeah. I mean, basically go the full range of emotions. I mean, it's almost like there's no limits to us.
The gods are oddly very human.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that's been said about this production, is that when we refer to the Greek gods and myth, we think of archetypes and stereotypes, but what seems to be a strength of this show, this story, is how it's been humanized. And can you say a bit about that?
I think a lot of that credit goes to Mary Zimmerman. She has that ability to do that with all her works, that she doesn't put them above and over as much as she allows it to be something that you recognize in your own life. It's like, oh, that's a very accessible perspective of something, or of a character. Would you say?
Yeah, I think she's grounded everything into the reality of whatever time period I suppose that we're in, like a contemporary view or take on it. I mean, when she adapts things, she likes to throw in those little contemporaryisms of conversation to give a line, a classic line, a new twist that catches the eye in to a contemporary audience even more so. And then there are times that some of those classic lines are just absolutely perfect just the way they are, and they sound contemporary, which is also, I think, a credit to Mary, being able to find these works and and showing them to an audience and being like, this is still relevant even now to our society.
Or a classic example would be a lot of times, the first time she did the Odyssey, Zeus would smoke. And in Journey to the West, Guan Yin would smoke. So it was something that you wouldn't expect. Like, why are the gods smoking? Don't they know better?
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't they get the memo?
Yeah. General Surgeon of Olympia.
So that brings to mind the role of humor. Can you say something about humor in this production? Is it funny?
Is it funny?
I don't know. Is it funny?
I think it's funny.
It's funny.
There's a lot of
Sometimes
fun.
we're told to stop being we get too funny. But
Because it also has a
its weight,
gravitas to
yeah.
it. There's definitely some very serious moments, but it's completely encased in humor.
Yeah, we have lots of fun doing it as well. So
And whimsy. And
yeah, and goofy and silly. I mean, it has a whole range of the whole range of humor. Like there's kind of a vaudeville-esque feel to it sometimes, and then there's just
Back to back with something that's just
wit and weight and silly, goofy, childlike kind of humor at times. I mean, it just kind of goes through a whole array of colors of appealing to every kind of sense of humor that is out there in its own little ways.
Well, what's it like then to work with puppets and with I understand miniature bits of little things that represent big things?
You know, she's always done a lot of the miniature, the shift of perspective of small to large, but this is the first time that she's really embraced puppets as characters per se. And Michael Montenegro, who designed them in Chicago, and I think she saw his work and wanted to work with him. And he's done a really lovely job of bringing some of the other creatures of the Greek mythic world to life that would be a little more difficult for actors. We do a pretty good job with giving life to a lot of sort of sea monsters.
Yeah.
There's a very good sea monster scene. But then there's also moments of where the puppets take over those creations.
I mean, they come to life obviously with the help of the actors themselves, kind of function. I mean, working them and functioning, kind of. We have to be taught to be puppeteers and learning how to breathe life into these puppets,
Inanimate objects.
And bring them to life and create them as characters, these outlandish characters. Or
The
these,
harpies.
Yeah, but you wouldn't actually. You're like, what is that? And it helps so much to have this creation that functions in a certain way that you, as an actor, you'd be like, I don't know how I'd be able to do that. I can't get string to pop out of my mouth like that.
And then you have puppets that are just the characters completely themselves, such as the baby is. Jason's little brother is a puppet. But then you have a merge of the puppet and the actor, which is, during the launch, we have the centaur, which is half puppet, half man, which is perfect since he was half horse, half human.
So now you're a cast of 14 with puppets.
Yes.
Well, not including puppets, I should say.
Yeah.
These puppets are demanding. They need their own dressing rooms.
And so that cast has evolved, or not so much evolved as it's just it's changed over time.
Yes.
And so just as the play is a journey,
Very much so.
similarly, you've had a journey with this production, being in, or in your case, in. Well, we'll say what's been your journey with this production? I just asked.
I started with the original production in Chicago with Looking Glass Theater, and what was fascinating about that initial journey is that Mary works without a script. You go in without knowing what exactly, sometimes who you're even playing. I knew that I was going to be Hera, but after that I really didn't know what was going to happen. And she writes in the off moments between rehearsals, so you're handed a script or little bits of lines throughout. So that was a very different experience from those who then joined it. And we have 4 of the original members from Chicago, but then I didn't do the first remount of it, which was in Berkeley, and that's when Sophia joined it. So that experience is also very different.
Yeah, because I mean it was remounted. And mostly the rest of the cast that were the classic 4, which at that point would be 3 at that point. Everybody was brand new to it, and she also decided to put new tracks to certain people. As actors within Mary's shows, you're given a specific role, and then you have a series of, you don't know where you'll go after that. So you're given a track, basically. She'll track you through the show and be like, oh, you're at this point. Oh, well, good, I need a witch. So you're going to be the witch in this scene. Or like, oh,
Or I need a tall guy or a short guy.
Yeah, and basically in terms of like, oh, I need something, we need to put a lift here. So you're going to go into this scene, and, so tracks start to be developed as the rehearsal goes on. And that was an interesting process because at Berkeley she reestablished those tracks based on the actors that she auditioned in New York and various other cities, based on their abilities. She likes actors that are well-rounded, vocally and physically, and we have to have a lot of abilities in our hands, and if you don't have those abilities, you'll learn them real quick.
Well, thinking of abilities, I was looking at your resume. So you put on there as special skills, I think, salsa and ballroom dance. So was that something, for example, that was useful here?
Do tell. I'm curious about this myself.
I do have those skills. I don't know if I use them as Athena. I carry a spear around. I mean, I could put a little salsa sequence in.
Well, if it fits in the track, perhaps you could...
Yeah. I mean, it
It's
helps.
just spicy. You definitely have it.
I have my little flair. Being from the culture, I grew up in Texas, down by the border of Mexico. So, and my father's Spaniard, and my mother's like Irish, Mississippian. And so there's a lot of like spice going on. I think that kind of translates within my work.
Very nice.
I'm not your normal beat of the drum kind of gal. And it also helps to have that kind of movement background because Mary's pieces are technically very, 1, 2, check, are very movement oriented. She wants the actors to physically present sometimes what she's wanting to say with the language. I like that there's that connection of actor, voice, text, all coming together at once.
Yes. Well, as you can hear,
Live theater.
things are happening here in the theater. So one
spicy in
last
here.
question.
Sure.
So you're trekking around the country, moving with this show, and now here you are in Princeton. What have you discovered here in Princeton that's been fun? Things that you're doing. I mean, maybe you haven't been here long enough to sort of find.
The wall. We haven't really been. Because the show's already been on the road. We didn't. Usually, you come in and you have rehearsal time, so you have downtime. We went straight into tech.
Oh boy. Okay.
So, but we did have a day off, and it's a beautiful walking city. So there's, let's go check out the campus and find, just sort of the basics of where did we get our shampoo, and so it's good. But theater, I would say, is very loud, but it's one of the largest in the country, and it's very historic in the world of actors. So it's wonderful being here. So it's nice that even though we've had little time, we've hit one of the highlights right off the bat.
Hooray! Well, Lisa and Sophia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I hope that you'll join me here in the Matthews Theater to see this production of Argonautika. Thank you.
This conversation with Lisa Tejera and Sophia Jean Gomez, actresses in Argonautika, written and directed by Mary Zimmerman, is sponsored by Mediterra Restaurant and Bar, one of Princeton's premier dining destinations, offering upscale casual cuisine of the 21 countries surrounding the Mediterranean Sea.